Hey there. Thank you for joining me. I'm putting out another more devotional video, and this devotional video it gets kind of tied to a story that Christian writer and speaker Ann Voskamp shared in one of her books. And it's a little snippet of a story. Ann Voskamp mentions that one time she was talking on the phone with her dad, and her dad mentioned that one of his farm buddies was trying to figure out what he was going to do for the weekend. Um, he had two projects that he was thinking of working on. One was fixing up an old tractor. His farm buddy loved fixing up these old tractors, and he had another one to fix up. And the other one was attempting to reconnect with his daughter, who he had not been connected with for decades. And clearly, the importance of those two projects, there's no debate about it. One is, fixing up a piece of machinery that, in some ways, I don't think was for him to even use. It was just a little thing to do with his hands to pass the time. And the other is rebuilding a relationship in his life that is central to who he is. When you become a parent, those relationships are they move into the core of your being. And he is faced with rebuilding a large part of who he is, or just kind of tinkering around with one of his hobbies. And sadly, Ann Voskamp notes, when she asked which one this guy was going to do, her dad said, well, yeah, he's probably going to fix the tractor. On the one hand, I think we all feel like, why would you do that? Like, you know that you need to rebuild that relationship. And working on that tractor, like, it doesn't change anything. It's not making anything better. Like, why would you do something like that? But on the other hand, I think we all do. In fact, Ann Voskamp notes, we all probably make that choice. Because trying to rebuild that relationship gives you a chance to fail. And for a lot of us, we would rather not try than to try at something that important and fail at it. And I think right now, with the way that things are, a lot of us are probably faced with that. Some of us might be faced with relationships that are not going well, and we are kind of confronted with the fact that something needs to change. But if we change, things might not get better. Or what if we try to change and it doesn't work out? What if we only make things worse? And so we don't even bother making the attempt. We just allow ourselves to fail. Because at least we can say, well, I did something else. We can tell ourselves, I just couldn't try anymore. The farmer can tell himself, well, I've been busy, I've been fixing up some tractors, I've been going about my life. You know what, my daughter, if she wanted to, she could probably reach out to me. I've got other things going on. It's just, I don't know if it's going to be really the right time. Or even saying, well, that relationship's just gone. It wouldn't work out anyway. She's better off without me. And not actually try to fix it. But if it's that important, surely it's worth the effort. I mean, if it is that important, surely it's worth at least us putting forth an effort, at least us making the attempt. And this goes for me too. This is something that I really struggle with. It's really easy for me to know the things that I can do easily and use that as a way to say, okay, well, I'm going to stick with this. I'm not going to try too hard. I'm not going to put myself too far out there because I can do this and this will be fine and this will be okay. And um, if I try to do some of these other things, well, I might fail at those. So I'm not even going to bother with it. But there are things that I know I need to change. There are habits in my life that I know I need to change. There are ways that I interact with my family, ways that I interact with others in the community that I know I should do better with doing. I think really the question, and I think Ann Voskamp would agree with this, really the question comes down to, are we willing to love enough to open ourselves up to loss? And that is so hard, but it's also so extremely Christian. And it's also something that we see happen time and again. We see people who they get so caught up with holding on to what they already have and to saving what they have and to, well, we're not going to go beyond what's already right here because if we go beyond this, then who knows what could possibly happen that all of a sudden everything dies. Jesus said, unless a grain of wheat goes into the earth and dies, it does nothing. But when it dies, it produces fruit 30, 60, 100-fold. Jesus said, whoever loves their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for my sake will save it. It comes up in pop culture, having just read through the Star Wars prequels. You've got the character of Anakin Skywalker who loves people so much and holds on to them so tightly that when they die, he loses himself. And he tried to hold so tightly to the woman that he loved, Padme Amidala, that he ends up killing her because he wanted to hold on to her so tightly that he couldn't allow himself to love her for who she was anymore. He lost her because he tried to keep her. It happens in some of our relationships. Sometimes we get afraid of opening ourselves up to loving someone else that we destroy the relationships that we have. It can happen in business endeavors that sometimes we're just going to try to be safer with the way we go about business, and it ruins us. It can happen in our Christian life. Sometimes it's just a lot easier to not really pursue God anymore, to say that it's good enough. And our Christian life just kind of fizzles out, and we never become the person God created us to be. We don't witness the greatness and majesty of God because we stop short of where God really called us to be. So we have a choice in front of us. And with everything that's going on with the coronavirus, we have a choice in front of us. We can just sit back on our couches and watch Netflix, allow time to pass by, and allow ourselves to suffer, allow our relationships to suffer. Or we can put ourselves out there in ways that are going to feel awkward and hard at first. I really don't like talking on the phone, and making calls around to different people is really hard for me personally. But it's so important for us to go through the effort of doing it. Maybe it's trying to find ways to show people that you love them, that you care for them. Maybe it's trying to find some ways to thank people in the community for the work that they are still doing. And, it's a lot easier to not even make the attempt, but it's so important right now It's important for the people who you're thanking, and it's important for you. So I would really encourage you during this time. We have the opportunity to choose. Are we going to take the easy way? Are we going to work on the tractor? Are we just going to go about things the way that it's been? Or are we going to fix the relationship? Are we going to do the hard thing? Are we going to put ourselves out there where we can fail, where it is very possible that failure is going to happen? But that's the only place where things can change, where things can improve, where success can truly happen. That is the place where we find that God loves us and where we open ourselves up to love others. So I really hope that through the coming days and weeks, you put aside the tractor and you take the risk on love.